So you would have seen I made a list of the best 10 forwards for the last decade. Now I'm going to be doing the same, but with the best 10 rucks in the last decade. If you don't know how this works, I'm going to be ranking the best 10 rucks, in my opinion, for the last 10 years, the last decade, based off things of body of work, what have they done for the last 10 years, all right? Accolades won in team-wise, individually-wise, in their prime, like all these at their best, who was the best, you know, consistency, all Australians, and to my eye, how good of a ruck do I think they are? So it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's really hard. It's not statistically based, all right? It's not just taps to advantage. For my forwards, I had some honorable mentions. However, I'm going straight to 10th place. No honorable mentions for my rucks. Let me know if I've forgotten some players, but I'm being pretty harsh on this, especially in a sense that I've gone more so for how they were in their prime, like the best rucks, but also body of work. Now, in 10th place, I've got GWS, Carlton, and Adelaide ruckman Sam Jacobs. Might be a little bit low in some people's opinion. However, in my eyes, he was a consistently very, very good ruck. Underrated. People thought he wasn't that good. He was consistently, for me, a top 6 ruck in the competition throughout sort of, you could even argue 2015 to 2020. Look, unfortunately for him, he did miss out on a flag, you know, playing for Adelaide in 2017, but he was a great ruck, a really good ruck, an underrated ruck, consistently up there, okay? And I think that's key. Now, in 9th place, I've gone for Aaron Sandilands. Now, technically speaking, Sandilands retired at the end of the 2019 season, or in 2019, sorry. So that says 13, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He's had 7 years, but injuries towards the latter end of his career meant that he just didn't have quite the body of work that I would have liked for him to be higher. Now, we're talking about the best ruck for the last 15, 20 years. He's at the very top, but for the last 10 years, he sort of tapered off towards 2016, 17 or so. It's probably a bit low, but in his prime, one of the best, extremely tall, but I just think, you know, no flag, all the injury towards the latter end of his career. But in terms of, you know, taps to advantage, you know, hit outs to advantage, no one could do it like him. However, I'm being brutal. Now, in 8th place is a player that, as a ruck, he would never ever lace the boots of Sandilands. The body of work for the last 10 years is there. It is a little bit biased because he plays for this club. It's Toby Nankervis. Now let me tell you why. Nankervis not a better ruck than Sandilands throughout his career, but for the last 10 years, Nankervis has been better in my opinion. He's won the 3 flags for Richmond. He's been a captain of a club. He's consistently performed. He's a bull. I love those bull rucks like Mumford, you know, big bodied, bulldozing rucks, and he's that for me. Underrated tap work as well. Really good player, but he has been pivotal for Richmond ever since 2017 when he got him. And you could argue he did some little bits for Sydney before he came to Richmond before that. So for me, that's 6 years of consistently being one of the top 5 rucks in the comp. 3 flags as well. Plenty of accolades. I'm not saying he's better than Sandilands, but for the last 10 years, injuries haven't hit Nank like they have Sandilands. So moving on to 7th place, I've got Brodie Grundy. Now Brodie Grundy in his prime for Collingwood, not for Melbourne or now is it Sydney. In his prime, Grundy would be a lot higher. However, body of work just isn't there. There was a time period where him and Gawn were always being argued as the best 2. He was there, Gawn was there, even Nick Nat at times. A couple name drops you'll see a little bit later. However, for me, Grundy's not up there because of body of work. He tapered off a lot for the last 2-3 years. From 2016 to 2019, he really burst onto the scene. He got 23 votes, I'm looking here at the Brownlow in 2019, 17 the year before. So really 2018, 2019 were his dominant years. In terms of a prime, he's really up there. A lot better than Nankervis, but only for me, 4 to 5 years of body of work, not as much as others. But like I said, he's a much better prime ruck than Nankervis, which is why he's higher. Unfortunately missed out on a flag with Collingwood, but as a ruck, really like him. You know, he's more than just a ruck. He is dominant in the air, and I believe he's a really good leader. Defensively and offensively, I do rate him, but there are just better rucks. And one of those rucks that is better is Ben McAvoy. Big boy McAvoy for me is at number 6, the 6th best ruck for the last decade. Now McAvoy, like I've said before, he's not anywhere near Grundy in their prime. Body of work, I think, has done more for the last 10 years. Consistency wise, he hasn't had that massive drop off like Grundy or others have. You know, he's obviously won the 2 flags at Hawthorn. He was a captain at periods of time, I think for 2 years, 21 to 22 at Hawthorn. Consistently there, never really polling votes or anything like that, but he was always a consistently good ruck, whether that was for Hawthorn or for St Kilda. Yeah, because he did play for St Kilda obviously first. And for me, he's the 6th best in the last decade. 5th best, gone with Goldstein. Goldstein is body of work. Always for the last 10 years, he's been a top 5 rucks. Slight dips in form to the latter end of his career. He's still playing, now playing for Essendon, but for North Melbourne, absolutely big. As a ruck, arguably on his day, one of the best in my opinion. Might be a bit controversial, really underrated because he played for North. Yes, he doesn't have those accolades because North haven't won anything. He's been consistently, like I said, a top 5 ruck for the last 10 years. And that body of work has to put him higher than the likes of Sandilands, Grundy, even Nankervis, who haven't had the last 10 years of consistency like that man has, Todd Goldstein. You might be thinking, wow, geez, I'm really giving Todd the glizzy. Why isn't he any higher? So for me, there are 4 better rucks, okay? But Goldstein, phenomenal ruck. Consistent team player, hit outs to advantage, hit outs, you name it, he can do it. A little bit dopey at times, but I kind of like that. Now, number 4, I've gone with Paddy Ryder, who for the last decade has played for many clubs. Essendon, St Kilda, Port Adelaide, you name it, he's played there. But the thing with Paddy for all of those is he brought X factor, which not many of these rucks did. Big marks, big game player. I've already talked about it in another video, but the tap behind him to Robbie Gray when Robbie Gray kicked that goal against St Kilda. Big game player this guy is. In finals stepping up, St Kilda's first final win for a long time, I believe in 2020. He was standout phenomenal in that game. Yes, he got injured. He's a little bit like Tom Hawkins, aging like a fine wine. Yes, he's obviously retired, but for the last 10 years, he's had the body of work, he's had the consistency, he's had the X factor, which not many of these players have had. And on the eye test, when I watch a ruck, I get more scared watching Paddy Ryder than pretty much anyone apart from Sandilands that I've said so far. And I think that's pretty fair. He can damage you in more than just tap outs, okay? And that's why for me, Patrick Ryder is at number 4. Now up to the top 3. At number 3, I've gone with someone similar to Nankervis. I said I like your big bull, sort of bulldozer rucks, okay? And the man who personifies that is Shane Mumford. Now Mummy retired in 2021, but he's had 8 years of body of work for the last 10 years. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Big games he's performing. We're talking in the moments he's there. Tap work can be dodgy at times, but he's more than just a ruck. Like I said, he's so big body, he's scary. He invokes absolute fear into the opposition, which only one other man on this list, I think, can do it like him. But Mumford was more than a ruck, like I said. He was on his dying last legs for GWS, retired, and they still needed him, so he came back to play. That's how good that guy is. Now, yes, he played for a variety of teams, not all in the last decade, but Geelong, Sydney. But GWS, for me, is where he really cracked on really fucking well. He didn't win a flag in the last 10 decades, but certainly for me, being one of the best rucks. On the eye, on his day, arguably the best ruck, the scariest. Yes, he's got no agility or anything like that, but he offers you something different that I don't think any of the other rucks do. But body of work has always been up there as one of the best rucks in the competition. Injuries, fitness, he has struggled, but if you really look about it contextually, GWS have relied on him game after game, and no wonder his legs were absolutely fucking cooked after 2021. Now, onto my top 2. Before I say that, let me know what your top 10 rucks are for the last decade, alongside everything I've been saying, not just statistically. I do want to read them to get an idea of where I've gone wrong, so let me know your top 10. This top 2 is really hard. I think everyone knows the top 2, Max Gawn and Nick Nat, or Nick Nat and Max Gawn. You don't know who's first. Now, Nick Nat, he brings the X factor, that bit like Mummy and Ryder can bring. Absolute massive marks, some of the best marks I've seen the last 10 years or 20 years. Big game player. After the siren, Coles, absolutely massive player. So pivotal for West Coast for that flag, but he just got injured, all right? And that's unfortunate for him that injuries curtailed him, which is why he never won that flag. The body of work has always been there. He and Mumford are some of the scariest rucks I've ever seen. He's scary. He is a great goal kicker. He damages you so much in the ruck. No other ruck can tap it like Nick Nat can. That has some telepathic fucking links and connections with his mids where he can have his eyes closed and know where they're running. Tap work phenomenal behind all this different variety of taps. So as a ruck on his day, in his prime, no one can do it like him. He jumps. He's the only ruck in this list who can really jump above the ruck, tap the ball, get it himself, get a center clearance, and nearly kick goal of the year every single week. Conversely, Max Gawn, body of work more than Nick Nat for me because of the less injuries. He's also won the flag, which is to note, more All-Australians. I think more consistent than Nick Nat. Obviously, that's not Nick Nat's fault. If he was not injured, there'll be a different conversation, but definitely better body of work and more consistently a good ruck. Arguably a better leader, obviously being captain of the club when they won that flag is a massive honor. Elite tap work, big game player as well, massive goals in massive games. He stands up. Both of them are an absolute character as well. Was tossing and turning between these two. But top 10 rucks, I have gone with, in first place, I've gone with Max Gawn as the best ruck for the last decade. And it was so close, but for me, the reason I've gone with Gawn is he was obviously an absolutely phenomenal ruck in his prime, big game player. But for me, the difference is the unfortunate injury to Nick Nat bring him down. And for Gawn, it's body of work, it's consistency, all Australian accolades, the flag, as a captain. He's just been luckier with injuries, unfortunately. But I wouldn't be mad if you put it the other way, to be completely honest. But those two for me are head and shoulders above everyone else for the last 10 years. Now, let me know your list. As I said, do you agree with my list? I'll go through it again. 1 is Max Gawn, 2 is Nick Nat, 3 is Shane Mumford, 4 is Paddy Ryder, 5 is Todd Goldstein, 6 is Ben McAvoy, 7 is Brodie Grundy, 8 is Toby Nankervis, 9 is Aaron Sandlands, and 10 is Sam Jacobs. No honorable mentions, okay? I'm being brutal about this. Brutal. Let me know if you agree with my list or not, okay? Follow the TikTok FTFooty. I post there all the time. Follow this, subscribe. I'm gonna be doing more top 10 in the last decade. I've already got right here the list for the best 10 defenders in the last decade. That's gonna be coming. Make sure you ring the bell so you do get notified when I upload that. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in another one.